This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by manager Vadim Kornilov over Zoom. Vadim, it's good to see you. It's been a couple of weeks or so now, or about a month or so now, since I last saw you. How have you been doing?
Very well. Good to see you, Andy. Always good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you're in good spirits. And let's just obviously go back to that night. Dmitry Bivol became the undisputed light heavyweight king. All those years, all that hard work finally paid off for him. What's your reflections on that night and seeing your friend, seeing somebody you've managed for so long, finally get his undisputed title?
I was very happy, very excited. Until the last moment that that his hand was raised and the decision was announced. I felt like he won no less than the first time. Even more. But I'm still always worried about the decision. I'm still worried about always worried about the judges. So that I was more happy about the right decision being called, to be honest, because I know to me he won both fights.
You know, when you went to the scorecards again in that second fight, did you have concerns waiting to hear those scorecards being read out?
Of course, that's what I mean. And now we had another draw. I mean, I understand that some people saw Beterbiev winning, but still, I mean, to me, there, there's no question that Beterbiev did really well. There's no question that maybe the first fight was very close. Maybe it was. I mean, I can't say Bivol won undoubtedly. But if it was a draw, maybe I would be more accepting. But the second fight, obviously the CompuBox and the numbers, in the artificial intelligence judge, all those numbers, they kind of they add up into one direction, and that's Bivol. So I'm always worried about how the judges see it, and how they're influenced.
Would you say, Vadim, as a manager, that was your proudest night in the sport, or do you think that's one of them? You can't really pin it down.
Um, yeah, I think it is. I think it is the proudest night. I mean, it kind of builds up on one on another because there's different parts in our team's career or in my career where each one was like the proudest night. But once it one after another just kind of adds up onto the other one. So you can't say that the previous one was more meaningful because But to be honest, all the important nights that we've had when boxers became world champions. One that stands out to me is Provodnikov Bradley that I always talk about. They're all very meaningful. They're all very
But
meaningful. But
Vadim,
this one was quite special.
obviously everybody will now look towards what's next for
I'm
Dmitry,
sorry.
and everyone will now look towards what's next for Dmitry, and the two options which seem to be out there, or seem to be spoken about the most. Obviously, the David Benavidez fight, which has been ordered by the WBC, and the Beterbiev trilogy. Where do things stand? What can you say at this moment in time as to what's going on in the background?
We're not to give myself or any of us too much credit, but we're always about integrity. So to us, like it's kind of unquestionable, and I think to many fans and to people involved that no matter what the decisions were, no matter what the judges saw, the Beterbiev side got the decision they got in the first fight. The second fight they agreed to do, they didn't have to do it. So from all ethical, moral standpoint, the third fight has to happen, and it seems like that's what everybody's talking about, and it seems like that's what Riyadh and His Excellency want. So that's what we're all looking towards, and it's kind of similar to like Golovkin Canelo. These are the type of fights that they're close, and we're not gonna do what other fighters do and say, oh, wait a little bit, and then we're gonna have another fight, and then we'll come back to this because that's not really about integrity in my opinion. I think this trilogy has to figure out who the winner is within three fights being one after another.
Would you say then, Vadim,
As in who the winner of the third fight is.
yeah. um, would you say, Vadim, that a trilogy then is maybe at the forefront of your negotiations and your talks, and the Benavidez fight, although it's been ordered, is kind of the second option, if you will?
It seems so, yeah. It seems so because obviously there's. It seems like that's like an obligation, but at the same time, usually when there's a situation similar to this, it seems like if it was Canelo, for example, or another fighter, it seems like there's always respect for that type of situation. And it seems from what I read, even from the Benavidez side, Before the fight happened, I read, if I'm not mistaken, that Benavidez was okay with waiting. Like he kind of understood that if Bivol was going to win, then most likely there has to be a third fight, and it's just something that everybody respects, you know. And now, like, we're getting a lot of commotion with like, let's make this Benavidez fight now. To be honest with you, it's like Bivol's not even fighting now. It's like it's not even about it's not even about Beterbiev. Like Bivol is not going to fight within 90 days either way, because he just had 4 fights in a row within a 13 months period. So even without all this that I just said, um, Bivol is not going to fight within 90 days after the end of February, you know, after the second fight. It just doesn't, like, it won't work out either way. So if that's the way it has to happen, you know, with some fighters at this level, besides trilogies, they usually fight twice a year. You know what I mean? Like they usually fight once, and then they probably wait 5, 6 months before they're ready again. Similar to Bivol, because he just fought 4 times in a year. Like he expects at least a half a year to recover and to take care of things that he couldn't take care of in the last year. And that's the bottom line.
So on that note, then, Vadim, because of the WBC ordering the Benavidez fight, do you think it's likely we see Dmitry vacate that title?
You know, I don't know. To be honest, I just don't know what's going to happen. With all due respect to the WBC and all the organizations, I think they'll have to make a decision. But I just kind of explained what we can't do. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's pretty clear and understandable what's going on, and we're just not. There's some timelines, right? So we're not going to get in the ring with Benavidez, Beterbiev, or Canelo, or Badu Jack, you know, or you know, maybe another cruiserweight, because Bivol's talking about that a lot. You know, maybe there's some other, like Ramirez, maybe, but you know, if he's interested, you know, another cruiserweight champion. Um, we're just not going to be able to do it before the end of the summer, and that's for sure. So that's our base point, and then what happens to all the other to all the other situations, I guess that kind of has to be worked out between everybody else. I mean, we can't really affect that.
So just one more in terms of like his next fight in terms of a date. Listening to you speak, and obviously knowing Dimitri's going to want a bit of time off, would you say maybe October, November time is the ideal period you're trying to work towards for him to return?
Yeah, we're talking with Frank and Eddie and the guys, you know, our team from Sela and everybody else in the next couple of days to kind of discuss the dates a little bit further. To be honest, we haven't talked more specifics on that, so we'll catch up with everybody. But what you just said would actually be ideal from my point of view, because I think Dmitry does need some rest and needs some recovery, and if it's Beterbiev, I'm sure he does as well. I mean, he just had 2 fights in a row as well.
And just touching on, you mentioned Zerdavel. I know it might not be in the immediate future, but up at cruiserweight, knowing that Dimitri's already defeated him once, do you feel like at some point that's certainly a fight which is very appealing to you guys as a team, because you know you can beat him because of previous, and up at cruiserweight it might make things a bit for Dmitry a little bit easier, although he might not have that natural size moving up.
I don't know what excites him about. You know, Dmitry has been talking about the cruiserweight situation a lot, to be honest, more than I expected. Because I keep on telling him, I'm like, you know, because I had this dream about Dmitry possibly fighting Canelo at 168. I think that's the one question that hasn't been answered, because I think Canelo did mention something about 175. He's a little too big, even though, you know, Dmitry was not any bigger than Kovalev, only smaller. But you know, he did mention that, and I kind of felt like there's still something left there. And you know, all the belts at 168, and if Dmitry went and did that, that'd be pretty exciting. And even for Beterbiev, like let's say if Bivol was able to fight Canelo, take his belts at 168, if he won, right? Then Dmitry is holding all the belts at 175, 168. I don't even think that's happened before, like at the same time. Not like two division champion going from one division to the other, having both undisputed, being undisputed in both divisions at the same time. I mean, that's pretty cool. That's pretty exciting. And if you did that, and let's say then he fought Beterbiev, I mean, that'd be huge. I think that'd be even bigger than the third fight, because everybody saw Beterbiev 1, Beterbiev 2. They kind of see how good both these guys are, and they probably expect the third one to be similar. But let's say he got that, and then it's like fighting Beterbiev, and then now he's holding, like, there's nobody else to beat except going to cruiserweight, right? There's nothing else to do. I think that makes it more interesting for everybody. Like Riyadh, you know, His Excellency, Beterbiev, financially that makes the stakes higher for everybody. If that could happen, but it doesn't seem like it could happen because Canelo's got a certain plan and obligations, and I'm assuming Beterbiev just wants to make it happen. But that's my ideal situation. And I know Bivol can make 168, and I know he can feel good at 168. Probably not as good as 175, but he can do it. But Dmitryy's talking about like Badu Jack. He's saying maybe cruiserweight, maybe take another weight class and that. Maybe he's just being a little conservative as far as going down in weight because he's understanding that, I'll have to make weight and I'll have to actually dry myself out. But who knows? We'll see how that conversation goes. We have a little bit of him and I are looking a little bit in different directions on that, to be honest.
Well, one more on that note, then, and if you're talking, or if there's certainly at least conversations as a team about potentially dropping to 168, but Dmitry's looking at cruiserweight. On the face of it, people will look at it and think, well, if he could make 168, there's no way he could compete at cruiserweight up at 200 pounds. There's a significant size difference and a disparity in weight that he'd be giving away to other opponents.
That's what I think. That's kind of what I feel. But he feels very confident. He wants to, he told me, why don't, he's like, maybe we come out to May 3rd, to the event in Riyadh and check it out. I'm like, do you really want to go? I'm like, it's like, Canelo, and he'll be fighting at 6 a.m. and all that, it's pretty exciting. But we've been to many of his fights, and then Dmitry's like, no, I wanted to see Badu Jack, which I was like, I didn't expect that, but he wanted to go see Badu Jack fight. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't mind, if that's what you want to do. That was pretty interesting, That's something interesting that we talked about.
Vadim, away from all things Dmitry, obviously Israel Madrimov fought on that same night in the rematch with Beterbiev. Since his defeat to Virgil Ortiz, how's Israel been doing and what's the plan for his comeback?
He's doing a medical rehabilitation program right now in Uzbekistan right now. And we're probably going to continue something also. We're talking to some European medical facilities to do something because I don't know if how much of this was brought up, but even though many people thought that he didn't do the Bohachuk fight because he got the Virgil fight offered next, it's not the case. And, I always say things as is. Like if we want to he didn't go like into a laying flat down type of situation, but he was having issues like from what the doctor said, he went through a virus, symptomatic virus, something with his like a bronchitis virus, but he didn't really feel it. Because he was training, it didn't affect him as much, but once they tested his blood, they saw inflammation and stuff, and they saw that the virus has passed him because he wasn't feeling well while sparring. So that's why we canceled the Bohachuk. He'll recover and do the Ortiz fight. But when he was training for the Ortiz fight, he started having setbacks of the same type of situation where he goes into sparring and he can't breathe as well. And if you saw in the fight, and when we saw that, we knew that if we were going to cancel this fight, His Excellency might have just said, okay, this guy just, dropped out of 2 fights in a row right for the fight. So, we didn't want to disappoint everybody. We're kind of like, let's try it. Let's take a risk because otherwise we might just lose the opportunities in the future. But if you look at his fight, like round 4, round 5, he was breathing like he never was before. Like he was breathing like it's the end of the fight. And I knew that something was going on. And he told me, he's like, I wasn't feeling like I usually do. I'm fully 100% recovered from the virus. So now we'll just take care of that, make sure that he's fully recovered, that he's breathing like he should be breathing, and he's feeling, confident and 100%. And then we'll go back and see what kind of fight we can get. There's a lot of conversation about people not wanting to fight Murtazaliev, or not wanting to take a risk. With the Riyadh season and His Excellency, when we fought Crawford, it was very important that we wanted to get a title back because, Matt just won against Kurbanov. Ideal situation is to fight for a world title and try to get a title back, and then and then talk about maybe fighting Virgil again or Terence or whoever's going to be available at that time.
You mentioned Murtazaliev. That's a very interesting one because, as you say, not many people are talking about him. So a fight you guys would just be ready to jump straight back in for if Israel's 100%, go in with Bakhram Murtazaliev?
100%. I spoke to my partner Alik and to Joel and all the guys. We're ready to fight Murtazaliev. That's a good fight. We don't feel like that's the toughest fight. Like, we feel he's a great fighter. No disrespect, but we're not looking at that as a big risk, or or something like that. We feel like it's a good fight and it'll be competitive, but we're confident Madrimov will do good in that fight. We just need, maybe, we need a little time. If they're ready to wait 4 or 5 months, we'll be ready.
Last one I have to ask on, Vadim, before I let you go, because I know time's running out. Inoue-Akhmadaliev, it seemed as though we might be getting a bit closer to the Inoue fight, and now we've seen obviously everybody coming out saying that he's been asked to step aside so Inoue can fight Cardenas on the Cinco de Mayo weekend. But later this year we might see Akhmadaliev face Inoue. What can you tell me? What's the position you are all in at this moment in time?
Yeah, we have a deal pretty much done. We're finalizing it on paper, with Top Rank and the Japanese side. Japanese promotion. He'll fight in May on Matchroom on one of Eddie's shows in the US, just as an in-between fight, just to stay busy fight. That's the agreement we have, and that's the deal we made. And then September 14th, he's supposed to fight Inoue in Japan in a new arena that they're opening up. And I'm very confident. I believe that Muradjan will do well. We can beat him. It'll be another crazy night for me worrying about judges. That's the only thing that a fight like that. I believe that's going to be a very, very good fight. Another competitive fight, because and obviously since it's in Japan, everything's going to be on Inoue's side, and it's part of the business. But we're going to do everything we can to win that fight, as always.
I mean, I know that obviously you've mentioned earlier Dmitry talking about going to see Badu Jack on that weekend, but obviously on May the 4th, Inoue is fighting. So will somebody from the team go and venture over to Vegas to see how Inoue looks?
I'm not sure. There's no plan on that. I mean, we can watch it on TV.
Right.
We know what to expect from him. So there's no, again. This is going to be, in the last year or two, this is going to be one fight that will be to watch. And I think you'll agree. Muradjan is not like the other guys he fought recently.
100%.
It'll be a real fight.
I think at 122, the two best names are Inoue and Akhmadaliev.
That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think.
How close would you say? You say you're close to it. How close would you say you are to finally getting it kind of signed on paper, so you know what you're working towards then?
No, to me, the deal is done. It just has to be inked. But we're dealing with Top Rank. We're partners. Like, once we have a deal, we have a deal. There's no. I don't see any issues unless somebody doesn't. I mean, to me, it's a deal.
Right, Vadim, I'm going to leave you now to enjoy the rest of it. I know you were busy and you jumped on in between your meetings. So thank you for speaking to me. I'll see you soon.
Always happy to talk to you, my friend. Anytime.